I don't have any memory of my mother hugging me or praising me or telling me that she loves me. Do you? Your mother says that you are beautiful, that you have a beautiful smile, that you are going to be successful. Does she say nice things to you? Or is it just my mom who's a terror? My mom, she lost my dad very early. My dad died when I was still a baby. My grandparents also died. My mom, she's a woman alone in the world. Church is her whole life. And I grew up in the church too. Always very religious, always with that fear of God, always saying everything is a sin. And I think the word she says the most is devil. Devil, Satan. She loves saying everything is the devil's work. Everything, the devil is going to get you. And I grew up like that. A girl who was afraid of everything, who was afraid of everyone, who wore skirts below my knee, who, never had the freedom to go to my friends' houses. To be honest, my mom never even let me go to the church youth group. When I was around 14 or 15 years old, you start becoming a young woman. You start noticing people at school because, yes, I didn't have a single friend at my school. I was that girl who would go in, sit down, and study, and I studied really well because I always got very high grades at school and then went back home. I never had time to make friends, especially because my mom wouldn't allow it. I was never someone who communicated much because my mom used to say I had to be careful because of things in the world. I was literally raised inside a big bubble. A big bubble. But as I got older, things started happening inside me. A longing to make friends. A longing to talk to the cute boy who had started coming to church, To be part of something at church, to be part of the congregation, to be part of some ministry, I don't know. At that age, I felt such a strong need to be useful. At home, I was always that girl who cleaned the house, cooked, did the laundry, baked cakes, and had responsibilities placed on me very early on. I don't have memories, for example, of me sitting on the floor playing in the dirt or playing house with a cousin. I don't have those memories. I have memories of me singing when I put the record on, on that record player at my house. My mom let me listen to worship music. We didn't have a television in our house. We couldn't watch TV because those were worldly things. I couldn't have just any toy. I couldn't wear makeup. I couldn't cut my hair. I was raised that way. But all of that was normal to me until my teenage years. My life was just starting as a young adult, because at 15 I already felt ready for everything. I thought I need to get married now. I'm already an adult, already a woman. I was already finishing high school. I needed to live my life differently, and I didn't want to follow in my mother's footsteps. As much as I admired her more than anything, even though she didn't give me love, I had a lot of love for her. My house was always a place where I had to walk on eggshells. I couldn't say just anything. We didn't have any communication. My conversations with my mom were always like, "Did you make dinner? Is there any cookies? Did you buy the school snack? Have you studied for the test yet?" They were just practical conversations. Always to give me chores or to say something that's missing at home, or to tell me the beans burned or that a glass broke. There was never any dialogue between me and my mother. For example, my mother never told me about my father. She never told me about my father's death. She always said that my father died when I was a baby. And many, many countless times I caught my mother lying on her bed, crying with my father's photo, suffering, saying that if he were here, everything would be different. If he were here, our life would be better. That my father was a good man. I've heard that about him my whole life. That if he were here, our lives would have been different. Different how? I don't know. But well, now that you know a little bit about my background, I'm going to tell you about an episode that happened. A new boy joined the church, and the youth leader had asked my mom to allow me to start going. Because my mom would only let me go to church with her and come back with her. I never did anything. I never went anywhere. You know, my mom was always that super overprotective person, the kind of person who wouldn't let me do anything. But even though she was really protective, she was very aggressive. In her words, in the way she was, in the way she spoke. It was always like, hurry up, girl, hurry up, and all that, you know? The way she'd say, don't do that, shut up. I'll break your face, I'll drag your face on the asphalt, I'll break your teeth, I'll burn your face on this hot pan, I'll break this broomstick on your back. That's me. Those are words I remember a lot. The devil will find you, the devil will drag you. May the devil take you. Yeah, that's what I grew up hearing too. And when the leader asked my mom, she asked almost like it was a cry for help because I had asked to go to the church bathroom, and I begged the leader to ask my mom because I had already tried everything. I really wanted to be part of the church, to help out at the church, but my mom wouldn't let me. That's when the leader spoke to her. She told her to let me be a part of it, that I was already starting to become a woman, and that it would be good for me, to prepare me for the world. And my mom, with a lot of hesitation, said yes. I was too afraid to even leave the church, worried she might return and say no. That's exactly what happened. She followed me from the church to our front door, humiliating me with every word. She was sure it was some mischief or trickery of mine, that I should have asked the church leader, that I was probably up to something, that I was starting to go astray, that she knew one day I'd lose myself to the world, that it wasn't right. She kept getting on my case from the church door all the way home because I had asked the leader to let me stay at church and take part in the youth group. I wasn't planning anything wrong. I just wanted a friend. I didn't have one. I didn't have a cell phone, okay? Cell phone. Cell phones are worldly. Cell phone. The day I ever got a cell phone, it'd mean the devil had taken hold of me. Yeah. Weird, right? While at school, everyone had iPhones. I didn't even know how to say iPhone or write iPhone. And it wasn't because I was poor. It wasn't. That's not it. I wasn't starving. I was in a precarious situation. It's because I didn't have experience. It's because I had no exposure to it. I didn't know about it. It wasn't my world. People talked about the series. Wow, because of Elite. Wow, because of The Kiss. Wow, because of Euphoria. I didn't know what any of that was. I couldn't have any of that. Netflix, YouTube. At our house, it was always really old school. Really old school, but because my mom chose it. And in her mind, we would be saved. Because we lived contrary to the ways of the world. When you say it that way, it sounds beautiful, right? We'd be saved because we're different from the world. But on the day of the youth service, on Saturday, I went. My mom let me. She basically said, almost cursing, "Go, you miserable girl." Yes, go. Let's see if you don't stray from the path on the way to church. Because if you stray from the path, you'll find the cross, the one you'll have to carry. You know, such heavy words. I just wanted to go to church. Believe me, it was one of the first times I went to church alone. And I was loving it. Loving it. I went. I got there. There were a lot of young people. There were a lot of people. It was really cool. You know, we sang, we had snacks, we took part in the service there. It was very pleasant. And that day, there was a new boy at the church. He was so handsome, so pleasant. You know, he was a boy who had just joined our congregation. And he came to talk to me. You know, when you feel like you're being watched? That's how I felt. I was afraid he'd talk to me and that my mom would show up, you know? I felt watched 24 hours a day. I felt like she was always after me. But I ended up bringing something up with him. We started talking about his old church, why he had come to our church, eh, his plans, where he was going to study, because he was transferring from his old school to the new school. And I told him that he could enroll in my school, and that was the kind of topic we talked about. And when it was time to leave, we left. Everyone walked home. Pretty much everyone. All the young people walked home. Everyone was from the neighborhood and all that. And I started walking towards my house. And this guy started walking towards his house, which, believe it or not, is in the same direction as my house. I was in front, and he was behind me. We kept walking, and he said, "Hey, are you going home? I'll walk with you." And right away I said, No, that's not necessary. My mom, she's really strict. If she sees me near any boy, she might think I'm dating that person. And he said, "That's silly. I'll talk to her. Don't say that. I'll walk with you. It was nighttime. It's dangerous. Something could happen to you." And as unbelievable as it sounds, I still thought, I think my mom would actually want something to happen to me, just so I wouldn't have to go out again, you know? Well then, we started walking. When we got to the corner of my house, I told him, "You can leave me here. Don't come any farther, because my mom might see, and she might get mad at me." But he would walk past my house to get to his own. Isn't that weird? He lived past my house. He said that, but it doesn't make sense. "I'll stay at the corner and wait for you to go in before I pass by." I said, "Okay." When we got to the corner of my house, and my mom was at the gate, and my mom saw us. At that moment, I saw the demon coming out of her. She huffed at me angrily, you know, and she screamed right then. I knew it. She made a scene in the street. I was walking toward the house saying, "No, Mom, it's nothing. He's just going to his house. We're just headed the same way. We're not together." And my brother already grabbed me by the hair. She attacked me that day. She hit me. She slapped me in the face. She hit me hard in the face. And it wasn't just once. She held my head and kept hitting my face, you know? And it seemed like she was taking out her anger on me, you know? Her anger at me that was inside her. And she hit me, and threw me out on the street. And she kicked me out of the house. She asked, "Don't you like being out on the street? Then stay out on the street. Go on, go after him." And he slammed the gate in my face. You know when you go into shock? You find yourself lost and thinking, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What am I supposed to do? What do I do? What am I supposed to do? What do I do? I had no one. I had nowhere to go. I didn't have any friends whose house I could go to. I wouldn't go to the guy's house, never. I had just met him, impossible. But I remembered the leader. I said, "The leader, she will take me in. Because if I went to the pastors at church, they would leave me out on the street. My mother is the way she is because the pastors at church have encouraged her to be this way her whole life. My whole life, they said it had to be this way, that it had to be strict, that I had to be kept on a tight leash, that I had to be tamed, especially because I was a woman, because I didn't have a father, because I didn't have a male role model at home to raise me. Since pastors often said this, I would never seek their help. They would put me out on the street saying my mother did, so I'd have to sleep there. I'm a 15-year-old girl. Okay. At that moment, I wondered what to do and where to go, then decided to head to the leader's house. The leader, she lived a little farther away. And I said, "I'll walk to her house." I didn't remember where she lived. And I was praying that day, asking God that at least when I got to her street, at least she would still be going into her house because she was also coming from church. I was praying for there to be people on the street because there was no one on the street. I was praying for things like that, for God to guide me because I didn't know what to do at that moment. I was kicked out of the house by my own mother, you know, for no reason, really. I honestly hadn't done anything. I didn't have a cell phone, I didn't have friends, I didn't have any support, I had no one, and I felt lost. And I started walking towards my church leader's house. As I was walking, usually we pass by what looks like an avenue. It's not a very busy avenue. Sometimes cars pass by since there's a gated community at the end of the street, so some drive through. When I crossed, I saw a car, I was going down. And it was on the other side of the median going up, and it was going really slowly. I don't know why. At that moment, I got such a huge knot in my stomach. Something inside me said, like, be careful. I don't know why. The car was coming up, I was going down, and as I was going down, I turned onto the first street. In my neighborhood, there's a street that we call Rua dos Caminhões, because there's a trucker family there where the father and his two sons work with trucks. And when they're not traveling, they're all at home, and the trucks are parked on the street. I turned onto that street before because I saw him making a U-turn. So I went in before the car made the U-turn. When I turned in and saw him turning around, I went onto that street and I started to get desperate. I saw the car's headlights coming in because I turned like this and like this. Going up, I was going down, I turned like this and went up Truck Street. The car was coming back here, it was going down, and when it turned onto this street, just before it entered Truck Street, I saw the headlights. I got inside a construction dumpster. Which had a lot of trash from the neighbors, and I hid inside that dumpster. And I kept begging God, for the love of God, for that car to go away, for that car not to pass by me. I hid inside that dumpster, put a bunch of bags over me, stayed really quiet and curled up in there, praying the Lord's Prayer, begging for the love of God. And you have no idea how agonizing it is when you're trying to hide from someone and the car passed right by me. I was terrified those people would notice me, get out of the car, and search for me. And they slowly drove up the street and I stayed hidden, and then I heard the car reversing and coming back down the street like they really were looking for me, you know? Like they really were after me. I don't know how, but I just know that I got really scared. At that moment I said, I don't know where the group leader lives, I have nowhere to go, and I stayed hidden inside the dumpster. When I saw that the car wasn't on the street anymore with so many people, you don't understand, I didn't get up from that dumpster, I pretended to be dead. And at that moment I even said to God, I would rather be dead than be found by them. Kill me, God, kill me here, but don't let me be found by that car, because I was afraid. And look, guys, I've never watched a horror movie, you know? I've never seen that. Evil things, I've never seen any videos or anything, but you feel it, you just feel it. When something bad is about to happen, we sense it, and I felt it that day. I began saying my mom was right, the devil was coming for me, going to take me, and I was carrying a cross. Because I chose to go to this youth group that I should have never gone to, that it was all my fault because I'm so stupid. For disrespecting my mom, that she was right, that the world is dirty, that the world was going to take me and carry me away. I was so scared that day, so scared. And then I was covered inside that dumpster under all that. There were some sticks, there was real trash, you know? And at that moment, I stayed really quiet. I remember that I pretended to be dead, really. And after a long time, when I couldn't hear any noise anymore, when I realized there were no more cars, no headlights, and I still kept thinking, you know, I said, I'm going to stay here. And I stayed there for a long time. Just so you have an idea, I think I even took off my shoe. Then I woke up and saw that there was no one else on Rua dos Caminhões. But then I thought to myself, where am I going to go? I'm not going back home because I'd have to cross the avenue again, and I was too afraid the car would find me there. And I was scared. Then I said, you know what? I'm going to sleep inside this dumpster here, and tomorrow I'll go back home. And that's what I did. I started digging even more through the trash to at least find a place to rest my neck, because I was sitting, and that's where I stayed. And that's where I stayed, inside the dumpster. I spent my whole night inside a dumpster. I slept there. Then when the day broke, I got up and went home. I remember that when the sun was starting to rise and I saw that there was a bakery open on the corner, that's when I got the courage to get up, because there was a bakery there, and if anything happened, I could go inside, because I was scared to death, you know? I got up and went back home, and when I got home, it was before my mom left for work, you know? When I got there, I arrived on my knees, you know? I knelt down and I begged my mom for forgiveness. I told her she was right, that I had slept inside a dumpster, that I was carrying my cross, that the devil almost took me, that my sin, the one I had committed, the sin of talking to that boy at church, I asked my mom for forgiveness, you know? And then my mom accepted me back home. She accepted me back into the house. And as incredible as it may seem, today I am 17 years old. I'm still just a girl who just finished high school, and I don't know what my life is going to be like because I don't have any experience with anything. I can't do anything. I have no freedom at all. I'm extremely traumatized because of that dumpster incident. It's something that really hurts my heart. Things have gotten better in my house. Because my mom, she got a television because of high school, right? I ended up convincing my mom to give me a cell phone because of my schoolwork, since I had to do assignments, because the teacher herself called my mom to the school to tell her that there were some things I needed to adapt to and that, well, it didn't make sense otherwise. Or else my mom would have to put me in a really evangelical school. But there isn't an evangelical school here. The schools here are public schools, which is where I study, you know? So, like, some things have gotten better for me. I'm finishing my senior year of high school now. I have a cell phone, but my mom still keeps confiscating it. Actually, to write this story, I wrote it and then deleted it. I wrote it and even asked people not to reply because I didn't want my mom to see it, because she's extremely controlling. She's extremely religious. She preaches. She's still the same person. And I feel extremely lost, you know? Like, I feel like now is when my life is really starting. I feel like when I talk to a 12-year-old girl, she has so much more wisdom, knowledge, intelligence than I do. What could possibly come from me? How do I get out of this situation? What do I do? What do I do? Help me. I don't know what to do. I feel extremely lost in my own life, in my own home. Hi, Bem Meketes, how are you all doing? Wow, when I read this story, I thought it was so heavy, and at the same time, it seems like it's so distant, right? Because today we live in a world of technology, we live in an advanced world, we live in a world where everything changes so fast. And her mother, she chooses to stick to her roots, chooses to stay in that closed-off mindset, going against the world. Honestly, in theory, it's beautiful, but in practice, it's unhealthy. In practice, this actually ends up holding back the future of this young woman herself, who has everything ahead of her, you know? To succeed, to be amazing, to be smart, to have successful relationships, to have a career. So what I would tell you today, the best path for you right now is to finish high school and take a course. Keep studying and pray for God to bring good friendships, good relationships, and financial independence into your life so you can start having your own life. With your own money, you rent your first little house, you furnish your house, you build your friendships. You're going to turn 18, you'll start to have a little more freedom in the eyes of the law. And also, go to therapy, my dear. Because the amount of limiting beliefs that were put inside you can really stop you from seeing the world in a positive way. Look, that car incident might even have been a curse your mom put on you, you know? A mother's curse can come true. That episode in your life won't define your future. You know what? We women go through this every day. Every day. What you went through was suffocating. I read it and I felt suffocated. I felt distressed because we women know the burden of going out on the street wearing a burqa and being harassed. So like wherever you go, you're gonna find this kind of situation. And it's not necessarily because the devil is punishing you or because God is punishing you, you know? Otherwise, you'll miss out on life's blessings and precious things. That's what you should focus on. The bad part will always exist. If you don't adapt to deal with it, you'll always be a victim of the system. You'll always be a victim of these people. So keep believing that the best in your life is yet to come, that you are a blessed, enlightened, wonderful girl. Amazing, intelligent, capable. I wish you the best things in the world. Write yourself a letter listing at least 20 qualities that, even if you think you do not have them now, you can grow into having, you know? Try to look on the bright side of life. I think for many years you focused on the dark side. You stayed on the dark side, afraid all the time. And fear generates fear and attracts fear. Fear attracts something to make you feel afraid, you know? So I truly wish from the bottom of my heart that you free yourself from this bad feeling you have inside you and see the amazing girl that God still wants you to become. And I'm sure you will still be a powerful testimony to many people. And if you were also raised in a very religious family that held you back and you don't know what to do, send me your story so I can share it here on the channel. If you have a story similar to this girl's, leave it in the comments for her. A comment full of love and joy, so she can read it, so she can feel alive, so she can feel capable, so she can carry it in her heart, because sometimes what she's missing inside is love. What she's missing inside are words of affirmation, you know? So let's pour a lot of positive things onto this girl. Share your story on the channel's Instagram, historiascanal.com. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Kisses. See you in the next video.